Did you know that the carbohydrates in rice have the same impact on your health as the sugar in a chocolate bar? Were you aware that the fructose in fruit has the same deadly impact on our liver that the fructose in high fructose corn syrup does? And were you aware that the average person who will be diagnosed with diabetes will have had metabolic syndrome for 10 to 15 years before that diagnosis because they didn't know those first two pieces of information? When we're talking about eating a healthy diet, it's not simply a case of solve this to lose a little bit of weight. It's a case of solve this to save your life and the lives of your children. We live in a world of what you don't know won't hurt you, but that actually isn't true. The things we don't know are causing us to be sick, fat, and miserable in our lives because when we don't feel good, we can't do the things we want to do. We don't move the way we want to move. We don't look the way we want to look, and we don't feel the happiness that we want to feel. The first thing that you're eating that's absolutely ruining your health is sugar. And I know when I say that, most people are going to say, obviously, table sugar is not healthy for us to have. The sugar in the food that we eat isn't only in the form of sugar, table sugar. It can be in syrups, and it can be high fructose corn syrup, as I mentioned earlier. But it also can be in things that seem very healthy, like rice, potatoes, beans. We are eating much more carbohydrate than our body can manage on a daily basis. What does that mean? Sugar is toxic in the body, and so sugar makes us feel good and bad at the same time. So what we'll notice is that we will get an emotional high from eating sugar and a sensational high, so physiological, because sugar helps release dopamine and serotonin and all these feel-good hormones, and you will actually physically and emotionally feel good for a few minutes, and then your body's going to jump into action to get that toxic substance out of your blood, and then you crash. And honestly, if you want to feel good from eating food, then you have to be eating food all the time. As you could imagine, that's not ideal for life, because if I'm eating all the time, I'm not doing much, but it's not ideal for weight. If I'm eating all the time, my weight is gonna rise. That dopamine hit and those feel-good hormones that go off in your brain when you eat sugar, and I'm talking about any sugar, so it happens when you have rice, it happens when you have pasta, it happens when you eat pizza, it happens when you eat any high-carb food. That emotional feel-good dopamine rush that you get pushes you to become addicted to eating these things. And then we fall into a situation where we want to eat these things often. We might be thinking about eating these things even when it's not time to eat. And then when we have any opportunity to choose a meal, we always choose the meal that's more fun to eat, so more carby. And I'm using the word carby, not sugary, on purpose, because I want you to think about carb count. How much carb is in the thing that I'm eating? Because that's always written on your packaging. And when you check your packaging, don't just look at the sugar count, look at the carb count. And what you're going to see is that the higher that number is, the more likely you're going to find yourself chasing that kind of food. It's rare to see people chasing foods that don't have carb in them. It doesn't mean that you shouldn't eat those foods, because they're usually the more healthy foods. The problem is we chase the ones we're addicted to. So the other issue that I have, and I want you to think about when we're talking about foods that cause our poor health, is that if I'm addicted to something, so if there's a large amount of carbohydrate in it and it's causing me to chase, can I actually then turn around and say that I love that food? So I want you to think for a moment of any time you might have known someone who had a drinking problem and they tell you, but I just love bourbon. Is it really a love, or is it bourbon has a high content and so therefore they're chasing bourbon, or they're chasing whatever drink it is that they can A, afford, and B, get that high from? So it's really important for you when you stop and think about, why do I eat the thing that's causing my weight to rise? to allow yourself to see that maybe it's because you're feeling compelled to. The other food that you should be avoiding, and I even hesitate to call this food, is seed oils. The biggest problem that I can see with seed oils is that the only way to get the oil out of this seed is to chemically extract it. If I need to chemically extract the oil, is that healthy for me? And clearly it's not. I want to point out that Dr. Berry warned us that we should get rid of our sugary foods out of our house. And he did say, like donate it to charity or something because sugary food is better than zero food. But when it came to the oils, he said, throw it away. He said, don't even give it away. You're poisoning people to give them seed oils. That should tell you that then if we can't even give it away, it shouldn't be going in our food. It shouldn't be used to fry anything that's going to go in our bodies. And yet, that is the oil that is used by most restaurants. That is the oil that is sold to us the cheapest. And so therefore a lot of us have been using it to fry with because frying takes a lot of oil. And so the cheaper you can get the oil, right? It seems cost effective, but it's not. Why is it not? If I fry my foods in a poor quality oil that ruins my health, and then I can't go and do what I want to do, then that food didn't nourish me properly. That food is ruining my health, so it's not helping me to be strong. At that point, how can I keep calling this food? It's actually just toxic and hurting me. As you'll notice, in both cases, where I'm talking about sugar or I'm talking about seed oils, toxic keeps coming up. Why? Because in large amounts, sugar is toxic, so the dose makes the poison, and seed oils are just toxic in general. They've been linked to obesity, heart disease, and cancer. And I can personally tell you my experience is that they are inflammatory. They have caused me to live excruciating inflammation, that I notice that if I use certain oils in my cooking, I don't feel good the next day. If I use certain oils, I notice that my problem with my skin on my hands returns. My hands have been perfectly fine now for almost a year since I figured out that not even just seed oils, but plant-based oils don't work well for me. So I use lard and butter, and that's pretty much it. And my hands are amazing. There's something about eating animal-based foods for our health, and that's my experience. I would encourage anyone who's having skin issues and still using, well, if you're using seed oils, just toss those. But if you're still using plant-based oils, I would encourage you to try switching to animal-based oils and see if you continue to have these problems with your skin. The third food to remove from your diet, if you want a happy, healthy, strong body, are processed foods. And that's a wide, broad area that I'm talking about. But the reason I'm bringing processed foods into this conversation is because processed foods are high in sugar and seed oils at the same time. They also very often have chemicals in them. Your body knows exactly what to do with whole foods. And if you're only eating whole foods, those allergies are much easier to pick out. When we're eating processed foods, which is what happened to me, you are eating something, so I was eating something that I was allergic to, but the sugar and the seed oils was causing so much havoc in my life that I couldn't tell that I was allergic to nightshades. Take those things out, and all of a sudden my allergy to nightshades became very obvious. The other problem that we have with processed foods is that because our body isn't used to them, they get absorbed very quickly, and because they're so high in sugar, we end up chasing them, and in that chase, we are filling our body up with foods that are not as nutritious as if we had been eating whole foods. So that means meat and vegetables. We are living longer, but our health is getting worse and worse. Where our grandparents were out tending to the livestock and making gardens, whether it was vegetable gardens or beautiful plant gardens, we are struggling to climb the stairs. And when I say that, I'm talking about myself. That 5 years ago, I was struggling to climb the stairs in pain, overweight. We are not benefiting from the longer lives we're living because our health deteriorates so quickly. And this is not the way it's supposed to be. It's this way because we keep eating garbage. Dr. Barry is constantly telling us that we need to eat a proper human diet. But Wellness Warrior, we've been brainwashed to believe that we can substitute packaged foods that are fun tasting for low carb, healthy meals. I'm the first one to admit that I ate poorly because I hate cooking. And these packaged meals, they seem so easy. They were supposedly nutritious. How wrong was I? They weren't easy because they were making me sick. Sure, they tasted fun, but they were not the thing I should have been doing. I hate cooking, but returning to cooking, and I cook almost every day, has resulted in my health improving 1,000-fold. We just can't have healthy bodies if we're eating garbage. So what are you going to do, Wellness Warrior? Are you going to continue chasing flavors? Or are you going to invest in yourself so that you can stop eating too much sugar, get rid of the seed oils, regardless of what kind of diet you do? They just should not be in your house. They should not be in your food. Stop eating processed foods. Are you going to invest in these things so that you can get on the road to health and actually enjoy every single day of your life? And the first step to doing that is to get your sugar addiction under control. In order to do that, I want you to click on the link right there. I'm going to meet you in the next video.